Do you want to learn how to teach your kids to crush OCD at home? Stay tuned. That's what's up next. Hi, my name is Natasha Daniels. I'm a therapist and I make videos for people with anxiety and OCD. And today I want to teach you how to give your kids the tools to crush their OCD at home. Often there are reasons why we can't help our kids with OCD. We might not be able to find a qualified OCD therapist. And a therapist that's not qualified and trained in how to treat OCD and pediatric OCD can actually do more harm than good. Because an anxiety therapist who's just doing straight cognitive behavioral therapy can actually grow a child's OCD inadvertently. Even if you are in OCD therapy, you might want something to supplement. You might want to build those skills at home. You might want your child to have a book that they can go back to understand the step-by-step process of where to begin, how to crush OCD, how to live a life of crushing OCD. And so I wanted to not just create any workbook. I wanted to create a workbook that kind of mimicked exactly what I would do in a therapy practice. And so it took me a long time to think about how am I going to frame this workbook so that I can walk your child or tween systematically through the steps that I know will give them the lifelong skills that kids need with OCD. So I started at the beginning. In the workbook, I start with educating your child. What is OCD? We often skip this step. Do they understand the mechanisms of how it works in the brain? Do they understand how when they feed OCD with what we call compulsions, it grows OCD? Do they understand what accommodations are, how OCD hooks other people into its world to grow the OCD? So the first section is all about understanding the many disguises of OCD. Would you spot OCD if it showed up like this? Or would you spot OCD if it showed up like that, right? If kids don't understand the multitude of ways that OCD can show up, they're gonna miss them because OCD will shapeshift and it will morph and it will change into different disguises over time. And a lot of times people drop the ball because they don't recognize that or that or that as OCD. The second section, I go into how are we going to communicate with OCD? And so that's a really big part is how are we going to talk about OCD? What should we call OCD? Does personifying it feel like a good fit? Why do we personify it? Can we name it? We don't have to name it, but can we? Can we call it Mr. O? Can we unite against Mr. O? How do we want to talk about OCD? How do you want me to talk about OCD? When do you want me to talk about OCD? Who do we tell about your OCD? These are all foundational things that are really important because we're pouring the concrete and we're building a home and we want the stability. We want the framework to be solid and language on how we communicate, knowledge about how to recognize OCD. That's the cement in there. The next step in section 3, I talk about defense. What do we do when OCD comes knocking? What do I do when OCD is demanding that I do something or avoid something to get that brief relief that I really want, but it grows OCD? And so I talk to kids about how to spot when it's OCD, how to delay it, how to ignore it, how to do the opposite if that's appropriate. Playing the OCD game, which is talking about different levels and what level are you going to pick. And so we go through who is going to be your supporter, who can support you through playing defense. How do you talk back to Mr. O without it being a compulsion? Because sometimes talking back to OCD is actually debating with it. And so I teach kids what are mental compulsions, what are physical compulsions, so that they understand all the many different ways that OCD will get fed. And then we talk about what a roadmap for success would look like. And then in section 4, I talk about offense. So we talk about what is ERP, exposure response prevention, the gold standard evidence-based approach to treating childhood OCD. We talk about what are the ingredients in doing an exposure, what thoughts are in their OCD theme, right? And so I'm walking them through the elements that they will need to know in order to craft a very effective exposure. When our kids learn how to do exposures themselves and they learn the skills, not only on how to just do an exposure, but how to create an exposure, they can take that and go with them. It can go with them lifelong. So when I'm 20 or 30 and I have another intrusive thought or feeling, I know how to craft an exposure because I learned that as a child. These are fundamental skills that a child needs to have a lifelong success crushing OCD. So we talk about developing a menu of exposures. I talk about remembering not to feed Mr. O while they're doing exposures. We talk about sprinkling in some fun in and how to add bravery prizes and incentives. We talk about how to avoid the sneaky moves that OCD will do when they are doing exposures. And we talk about creating silly creative exposures and how to make it a habit. So section 4 is very meaty, but the activities are fun and they move through them rather quickly so they can learn these skills. In section 5, I wanted to add not just how to do exposures, but I wanted to add some elements besides that. And so in section 5, I talk about how parents get hooked into doing compulsions, how other people get hooked in to do accommodations. And so we talk about how Mr. O gets other people to feed him. We talk about how when we remove accommodations, our involvement in the compulsions, that Mr. O loses its power. We talk about different tools that they can use, like reassurance cards. I talk about how to work down their list of accommodations systematically and pulling them back. And we talk about what will happen when Mr. O has a meltdown when people aren't doing what Mr. O wants them to do to get that brief relief. And so it's so helpful when our kids are given the tools to own that, right? Do I have to ask you for reassurance? Do I have to ask you to do this compulsion for me? Do I have to ask you to follow OCD's rules? Or am I starting to recognize that that's actually harming me and harming my journey with OCD? So getting their buy-in can really reduce the power struggle that often happens in the world of OCD in our home. The next section is I really wanted to work and touch on self-esteem. So when kids have OCD, it hits their self-esteem. And so I talk about how they're awesome. And I have a whole section to get them to remember that they're awesome. So we talk about celebrating their small wins, that OCD isn't crushed overnight. And we don't, they're not in big steps often, they're in small steps. And we want to celebrate every brave step. We talk about keeping up the good work. We talk about who they are as a person and their strengths, because OCD can strip our kids of self-esteem and self-worth, and we want to rebuild that. And the last section, section 7, is about maintenance, because often that's missing in a lot of OCD workbooks is, I learned all these skills, now how am I going to maintain it? So I talk about keeping your eye out for new themes. We talk about an exposure a day keeps OCD at bay. I talk about don't fall for these sneaky traps that often happen when you're making success. And then we talk about celebrating, because at the end of the day, it's all about celebrating our child's success and our child's effort in crushing OCD. And it's not something that is linear. Often our kids will have to revisit one of those steps. And that's why I feel like it's really nice to have a reference, to have a book that you can go back and you can say, let's just revisit offense, or let's just revisit defense. It sounds like we need to revisit defense. Or a new disguise came in that we didn't recognize. Let's go back to recognizing disguises and the clues to recognizing OCD in a new disguise. Or OCD's hooking me in. Let's go back to that chapter and revisit when OCD hooks other people in. So my hope for you is that your child can move rather quickly through the workbook and enjoy it, but then it also becomes this reference tool that you have in your library that you can pull out at any time and just revisit one of the activities to refresh your child and their skills crushing OCD. I do have a special offer for you that is very time limited, because I'm a little nervous about doing this. I've actually I've given a whole bunch away already. And so I'm thinking that we'll probably close this starting maybe March 1st, or maybe after the book is released. And so you're watching this and the book is released February 21st. And so I believe this video will come out the day after the book is released. So as you're watching this, it is now available wherever you buy your books, on Amazon, Target, Walmart, Barnes & Noble, wherever you get your books. But what I am offering, very briefly, because I'm kind of nervous about it, is I'm gifting people who order my book, I'm gifting them free access. They can get a coupon code to get my course, Crushing OCD Class for Kids and Teens. It's a $127 course. It's always $127. But if you email me with the receipt of your book that you got on Amazon, Target, Walmart, wherever, email us the receipt, and then we will send you a coupon code to get that course for free. $127 course, $23 workbook. You do the math, it's a no-brainer. Together, they're very powerful because the course and the workbook are different. I'm teaching the same skills, but I teach them in different ways. The activities in the workbook are not the same things I'm teaching in the course. The worksheets in the course are different than the workbook. And so I think watching the video, which has 12 kids and teens with OCD talking about their struggles, using these skills, and giving them videos that are visual to show them while having the workbook that are supplemental activities to go through, I think together it's gold. And that's why I feel really good, because I know it's going to get kids far. I feel really good about offering this as a combo. I'm a little uncomfortable because it's my $127 course, and I don't want to always just giving that away for free because it took forever to make and it's really good value. And so we are probably going to end this no later than March 1st, 2024. And so if you're watching this after March 1st, 2024, it's definitely not available anymore. I'm sorry about that. The workbook is still fantastic and you can get it, and I'll leave a link below to order the book, or you can go to natashadaniels.com/OCD book, and that'll link you right to Amazon. But if you're watching this before March 1st, 2024, I would hop on it if you're interested, because we may stop offering this before March 1st, depending on how many. We've already given away a couple of hundred courses, and the number makes me a little anxious because I love that course and I don't want to just keep giving it away for free. It's 5-6 hours of therapy in a video course, so there's a lot of weight to it. So take advantage. Email us at atparentingsurvivalhelp@yahoo.com. If you have bought the book, send us the receipt to that email, and we will email you the coupon code so that you can purchase this course for free. So you're not really purchasing it, you're just gonna enroll for free. And like I said, don't email us if it's after March 1st, 2024. It may end a little before then, so just email us and see if it's still going on. I do hope that you get to take advantage of it, because I know together I've already gotten a whole bunch of emails from parents saying, wow, the course and the workbook are so amazing, and together my child's just loving this, or they're seeing a lot of progress. So I love to hear that. If you are enjoying the book, don't forget to circle back and write a review. I really appreciate that. That does make a huge difference on Amazon. And so let us know what you think of the book through writing a review. And I hope that you find the sparkle in everything you do. And I'll talk to you again next week. Take care.